Rena, are we doing a hop up? Okay, hop on. Is that what it's called? Hop on. Okay, I think Ruth is coming for sure, so she's gonna want to hop on. I don't know. Welcome everyone to Placertopia Live. This is the season 2 premiere, episode 1. I am Paul Godwin and your host. We respect the indigenous community and acknowledge that Placerville sits on the traditional home of the Miwok and Nisenan people. We have an exciting show lined up for you today. We are featuring our featured interview with Jamie Van Camp from See the Elephant Theater and musical guest Cloud Spotter. We have a special spoken word piece with local writer Jacob Sandigo, and a pre-recorded feature interview with the monks from Godwin Shartse Monastery in India, conducted by Amira Godwin. We also have our regular segments, Outdoors with Aidan McGuire, and The Bookery Reads, today with Bookery co-owner Darren Coelho Spring. Our first guest is Jamie Van Camp, who sits before you.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We've been trying to have you on for a little while. Jamie Van Camp is born and raised in Placerville, the artistic director and co-founder of See the Elephant Theater. He's a professor and director at Folsom Lake College and a performing arts educator. Please welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so Jamie, my first exposure to See the Elephant was out at Wakamatsu Farm on the very historic 150th anniversary of that Japanese silk colony. And I got to witness a theatrical production that you put on out in the meadow. And it was a historical recreation of that story. And it was, I thought, very impressive. So let me start with that. Tell us just a little bit about how that came about and what your experience was putting that together.
Yeah, no, that was just an incredible moment for our company because we had actually just formed. So we were really out looking for the exact kind of project to launch with. And it was just sort of this perfect coming together with arts and culture, meeting with American River Conservancy, and me expressing how much I'd love to put on a performance. That was something they already wanted. And so it just worked out perfectly. But within that, it was part of the work that we are trying to do, which is sort of reveal more untold histories and stories of this community. And then within this one specifically, we get the opportunity to, we had the Japanese community in this area from here to Sacramento get involved with the writing. So I worked with the JACL and a lot of other community members, historians, to really get what felt right on page culturally. Because that was the one thing I requested, is to make sure I was really culturally accurate through the whole process. So even hiring students from Sac State who had Japanese heritage of some sort. I think only one of them was Korean actually, but everyone else, it was actually had some kind of relation to it. And I found a costume designer who had Japanese heritage. So that already just made it a really fun experience, putting it together and yeah, getting it on stage for that festival specifically.
So, of course, I'm going to ask because speaking of stage and getting it on stage, my understanding was there was no stage
Yeah.
at Wakamatsu Farm.
That's right. Yeah, no, it was really literally built from the ground up, the whole process. And I said, we need a stage. And the director at the time was Alan Ergot, I believe. So, and he was very supportive, and he got to work, and we planned it all out, and now the stage is there, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool, pretty large stage. I think it's like 20 by 30, and we had never been out there, and it was a large event. For those of you that weren't there, it's they ran shuttle buses from Coloma because there wasn't enough parking. This was a multi-day event. Mm-hmm. And did your performance occur multiple times?
Boy, I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. I can't actually. I think we only did it. We must have done it. We did a few runs. I don't know why I'm blanking out on that. But yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah.
We even did it for the Gold Trail kids for an early show for them too. So it was really cool.
Nice. So as I understand it, See the Elephant. You have a kind of a strong mission. I know that you trained outside the area. You're from Placerville, but you came back to the area to start your family, and you and your wife, Tiffany, run See the Elephant, and you have a vision for regional theater in the area. Could you say a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. The reason we chose the name See the Elephant, it's an old phrase from like the 1800s, which was meant for people who wanted to go see the elephant, which was to go outside and experience something new, experience something different. Possibly, change your life, do something, move somewhere else. But even if you didn't end up moving anywhere and you come back, you've had this adventure, you've had this journey. And so I really like that idea. That's kind of what we're looking for in our work, is challenging people to go on an adventure with us, to try something a little different. And also it can also mean see the elephant in the room, right? So trying to find the things which kind of speak to our community engagement aspect of looking for elements in the community, conversations, stories, things that could bring shed new light to growing our community in some way or another. But performance, to me, performing arts, theater has such a wide range. And in my training, I've learned sort of all kinds of ways that you can engage in theater that aren't just sort of that traditional space, which I love. I mean, and shout out to Imagination Theater, who really hold the ground for that traditional community theater, and they do an amazing job with that. But I'm looking to sort of expose and grow a sort of new outlook on all the kinds of ways performing arts can be utilized for community.
Super interesting. So I definitely want you to say a little more about that, because now I've heard you mention like the possibility of telling stories that maybe haven't been told as loudly, and also you're talking about alternative aspects of theater that can help tell that story. So maybe this is a great seg into you talking a little bit about your background. I understand you have an MFA from Del Arte.
I did a graduate study for 3 years.
Graduate studies at Del Arte, and for those, I can tell you what I know about it is that it is a school of theater that's definitely rooted in physical theater of Jacques Lecoq and Marcel Marceau, but you can do a much better job to tell us about that training and how that influences what you're doing to See the Elephant.
Well, yeah, that was exactly right. The school itself, also what I loved about it was that it started in a small logging town, so like in a town even smaller than this, and they built a theater company that really grew with the community and inspired the community. So part of their work is also that kind of community engagement, so how theater goes into the community and does what kind of the things I said earlier. But on top of that, you get this really incredible training. Like you say, Lecoq is kind of the base. And so Jacques Lecoq was, he had a different point of view than a lot of the sort of what we know as the sort of traditional American method acting, and didn't really believe there really was a way to have a method in acting, but it was through your engagement in imagination and play and becoming more of a theater maker, so someone who can do it all and train from a more physical lens. I could go on and on. It's
well,
a
so
lot of
it
details,
sounds like
but
it's very physical. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about tell us about the physical training. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Well, just a lot of, it's kind of hard to describe, really. It sounds weird to say it, rolling around on the floor, doing all this sort of big, massive movement type of things, getting your body activated. We did acrobatics training. I was flipping onto people and flipping off of them, very circus-y almost. And within that, they were teaching us the general forms that just sort of exist in theater: the clown, melodrama, tragedy, commedia dell'arte. So you're also learning these forms and how to activate them and finding your way into them as an artist. So you kind of grow and learn all these forms and have them with you when you leave the school.
Huh. So this is definitely making me think about your current work with the Shakespeare material that you're delivering to us here in El Dorado County at David Gerard Winery. Mm-hmm. And I have seen both seasons so far. There's been 2, right? And you're heading into the 3rd season.
Yep.
And I would say that I'm definitely cognizant of physical aspects to the Shakespeare that you're bringing to it that are always delightful when you see Shakespeare.
Right.
Talk about it.
Well, that's the thing about Shakespeare is it is actually a very physical form, or it has some beautiful language in it that when looking at it, the poetry is amazing. But it originally was theater, and it originally was performed for audiences, and it was very active and alive. And so that with my physical theater training, that's definitely what I bring into the work is looking at how the body tells the story while we rehearse it. And so yeah, it's interesting here because students don't get a lot of actor training, especially physical actor training, and so as I direct, I'm kind of instilling that into the work as we go and helping them learn to express with their bodies more how do they tell the story that way, and that I find it makes Shakespeare come alive.
It really does, from an audience standpoint, I would say.
Yeah.
And you're working with students, I guess is it a mixed group or it's all students from Folsom Lake College?
It's open to the whole community, so anybody can audition. And in fact, where auditions are the 29th, so is that next week? That's next week. So next week, timing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. At the El Dorado Center Fitness Center, and this is through Folsom Lake College, the Falcon's Eye Theater specifically. So,
Falcon's Eye Theater. We'll put it in the show notes, and if you would like to audition, maybe. Yeah,
it's open to anybody. It's a great balance of sort of community members and students, and that's what I love about it too. This year, it's already exploded in terms of turnout for auditions. We've got a huge sign up. The buzz has definitely gotten around, so we're getting people from Sacramento and all over who are coming to try out for this. So it's going to be interesting.
So what is the play?
We're doing Much Ado About Nothing.
Very good.
Yes.
So, okay, your wife is known in the community as a choreographer, and I know she's a teacher and a mother, and she's been pretty busy. But if I'm right, she did do some choreography this last summer on that show, did she?
Yeah, she's usually my go-to person for any of the dance physical stuff, and so she's an amazing choreographer. In fact, one of the more unknown things we did at See the Elephant was a dance piece that she did over at the Oddfellows Hall, and it was actually a great turnout. Still one of my favorite things we've done, and it was, she brought together a bunch of dancers, and it was a really, really cool, sort of more modern dance thing. But she's an incredible choreographer, so it's really nice to have her come in and just take care of that side of it as well, and bring a whole just really brilliant.
It was really obvious, as an audience member again, but just when the dance happened, it was obviously well choreographed, and I enjoyed it. Speaking of those productions, you've had Jillian Secor, I think, doing some original and classic folk material. I'm not really sure. Can you
Yeah.
talk about how she's been involved with you?
Totally. Yeah. She's been there from the start. We actually had a sort of a false start with our first one was going to be Midsummer Night's Dream, and then the COVID thing happened and we had to cancel. But that's when we kind of first started, and we just got really excited. I've known her for a very long time. We both had Paul Tomei at El Dorado High School. I directed a play as a returning alumni that she was a part of. So we've known each other for quite a while. And she was just the first person I thought of as a musician to work with, because I know she has the musical theater background. And then she's skyrocketed off and is just doing her own thing as a musician here. But she's got those roots. And so when we talk theater again, she lights up. So we got started talking about a collaboration. And she's kind of like, I would say, my main partner on this, because without her part of it, I don't think it would be as alive as it could be, because of her. I love having live music in theater, even if it's not musical theater. I think it's just really, really is a major part of what brings theater to life. And she brings it. She does that.
She really does. It is billed as her, I think, Marigold Trio.
Mm-hmm.
And it really adds this fully kind of Renaissance summer. Now, I should set the stage. You're at David Gerard Winery in this beautiful amphitheater surrounded by trees. It's separated from the main winery, so it's sort of its own environment. And then you have this kind of idyllic, folky, kind of sounds like early British Isles music, and she's singing.
Well, Tempest had that specifically, and she's really good at finding just the right. She keeps her style, but she finds just the right tone. We've talked a lot about what we call folly music, or anything where you add that little bit of background and sound. But yeah, she's really good at finding the tone for this one. At this time, we're going for more of a Fellini Italian melodrama style. So we're gonna have a trumpet and drums this time around.
Wow! And so the last 2 years, though, her Marigold is, I know, Alex, and who's the somebody out there?
Yeah.
Come
sorry.
on!
I want to say Alan, but I'm so
Robbie.
sorry. I'm forgetting the name.
I saw Robbie in the club. Is he still here? Accordion player in Marigold. Anyway, sorry, fact checker. Okay. Anyway, he's wonderful, and he plays keyboards and accordion, and he's like great. Definitely like a major part of it as well.
Great, yeah.
So I don't know him personally. That's why, Okay, great. So you mentioned Paul Tomei in Studio 81. So those of you in the listening audience who have been under a rock the last 3 decades may not have heard of El Dorado High School's incredible, groundbreaking theater department under the direction of Paul Tomei. It is super inspiring. When I was pretty new to the area, I had been working in children's theater and high school theater in Half Moon Bay and San Francisco. And so the first thing I did was attended actually the Laramie Project, which is definitely like a very serious piece of material dealing with some difficult subjects. And I knew that El Dorado County was, had a kind of conservative reputation. And I was just super impressed that Paul had taken on the Laramie Project with high school students. And I went and saw it, and it was just so brilliantly executed. And I started to get to know him. So anyway, you mentioned that you guys came up under him. Tell us about some of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's just I had him when he was just started. So when he was like his first year of teaching. In fact, I had a theater teacher for 2 years before, Pete Miller. Shout out to him too, because he was an incredible teacher. So I got this great transition to Paul Tomei, who he just came in strong. We were a very passionate group at the time, and he just has a great, it's just a. I know there's so many students who are so grateful for his presence in this community, who've either done theater or not, but the confidence he builds in you, the risks he lets you take, which you don't see very often in around here, especially with like the kind of theater that he was always pushing to do. Our group particularly constantly wanted to make original things, and he would just say, "Great, go do it." And he gave us so much space. And he really works hard to empower the students, and also gets you passionate about theater. I couldn't. He's just someone he's a deep mentor for me, and I just value him.
How great.
Yeah.
We invited him to direct Fireland last year by Myrtle Tree Arts. And he was, of course, too tied up with his spring show. And he recommended two of his students, Jamie Van Camp and Gavin Sellers. And those were the first two names off his lips. And of course, you were very tied up with Shakespeare, and Gavin ended up directing and did an amazing job. And so we're really all, I think, getting the benefits of Paul Thome's adventurous, hardworking spirit in the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just as we get in the last minute or two here, let's recap. Jamie Van Camp is directing William Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. It's performing at David Gerard Winery. Mm-hmm. Do you have the dates already?
I do. I have.
We'll put it on the website. Yeah. We'll put it on the website. You're seetheelephant.org. .org. Seetheelephant.org.
.net.
Oh, .net.
Yes.
Seetheelephant.net, and catch that elephant in a net. And also, they've got auditions coming up this coming week, or the 31st, we think.
Yes.
So, any last remarks?
We also we just got this. We got a really big grant for this other project we're working on right now with Gavin Sellers.
Great, we have a minute. Talk about it.
If we have a minute, I won't. I will keep it quick.
Please do.
I've got two great project artists I'm working with, who are both alumni from Paul Thome. Like I said, Gavin Sellers Norman and Casey Ellis, who are both also members of the LGBTQ plus community, and we are going to put together a performance that has gathered the stories and experiences of queer folk in this area. We've begun the work since August, and we've been having these incredible conversations, meeting amazing people, hearing all kinds of things. But we're now hosting a gathering on the 17th at the Shakespeare Club for all the queer community to come. We're going to have events to gather stories and have activities, all kinds of things. And that, February 17th at the Shakespeare Club.
Placerville Shakespeare Club. It's open to the public?
We wanted to focus it on the LGBTQ community, but allies are welcome. It's just we're really trying to get stories. There's going to be a drag performance, a lot of group activities, things like that. But
marvelous. Actually, that project is going to be realized in theater and film, or both?
It's going to be. It's kind of what we said about the sort of this broadening the spectrum idea of performance. So it's a bit of an immersive, performative thing. So it'll be a little bit of theater, a little bit of art, all kinds of stuff.
And that'll be coming up, I believe, early next fall. Is that correct?
Right.
Or,
we're aiming for September,
October, next fall, 24.
Yep.
And that is through the California Arts Council grant. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Sacramento Regional.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very exciting. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Give it up for Jamie Van Camp.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Please welcome to Placertopia Live, Cloud Spotter.
negotiating better terms, broken bones along the path. I'll be gone before long. Step into the raining arrows on the way back home, and forgetting everything. Into the red we race, stranger things. Telephone tells us all that we need to know. Wars raging over the sea. We are all interconnected. Step into the raining arrows, if only through the screen. And I'm forgetting everything. Into the red we race, stranger things. Forgetting everything. Into the red we race, stranger things. Thank you. Got one more for this segment. Course of time, but where the wind blows we already know. It's blowing on the Rhine, it's pushing us aside. It winds rush in and the waiting in line. Drunken love notes written on my toe, follow me around everywhere that I go. Probably obscene, dirt kicked on my knees. Care about my family and they care about me. The boys relax. I fortify my mind with some Carlo Rossi wine. Kissing you goodnight happens all of the time. Fools rush in and they're waiting in line. Drunken love notes written on my toe, follow me around everywhere that I go. Probably obscene, dirt caked on my knees. Care about my family and they care about me. about my family and they care about me. Thanks.
And we are back. And that was Cloud Spotter. That was so cool. I don't know what the genre is, but that's my favorite genre. And we are here, Placertopia Live, Season 2, Episode 1. And I have with me no stranger to the program, the adventurist extraordinaire, Aidan McGuire.
Hey, how's it going, Paul? Nice to see you.
So I understand we're going to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
For those of you that have been following the program, Aidan's been on every episode, practically, to share with us some extraordinary outdoor adventure which can be had here in the Sierra foothills or the Sierra proper. And since it's pretty much the dead of our winter, and we've already covered a couple of winter activities, Aidan's got a different theme for today.
Yes.
Tell us.
I do have a slightly different theme for today. So rather than talking about where to go outside and have an adventure or what type of adventure to have, I was really interested in talking about the concept of adventure and the concept of risk. You know, I really enjoy adventure, and I actually like risk also, which I'm going to explain a bit more, which perhaps makes me a little bit wacky. But I think that everybody needs adventure and risk in their life. And I'll tell you why. Because I think that when we push into adventure, we grow in certain ways that benefits and overflows into normal lives that improves our lives. So I'm kind of rushed on this, so I may end up having to read a couple of my notes so I'm not very well polished on this, but I'll at least refer to them. So a level of comfort with adventure and an ability to go through risk, I think, and hardship creates confidence and helps develop courage, which are essential in life, which I was just saying. I think most people think that, go ahead.
No.
Oh, I think most people think of adventure as, rowing across the Atlantic or climbing K2 or...
Got it. I watched that film Naiad recently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Or climbing El Cap or thrashing through a forest in Borneo. But I think that adventure can be had in all kinds of places. For example, when you and I went down and we did the Kilometer Greenwood run at Whitewater.
That was a big adventure for me.
Yeah, but in fact it was only class 2 and it was really pretty safe, but it was taking you out of your comfort zone and it was doing some things that are involved in adventure and risk taking that I think are really important. I would say, the Experimental Music Festival that you helped facilitate and put on over Thanksgiving was an adventure because I came and saw music and was perhaps pushed a little bit in terms of my own comfort. And I suppose I had risk because I risked having a boring night or whatever the case may be.
I think you took a risk because you actually volunteered to house some of the Czech and Icelandic visiting artists. Right. So that was an adventure.
Yeah. And exactly. and so to me, that's adventure, and it was very beneficial for me. I've been on a total electronic music bent since that. I've discovered all kinds of stuff that I probably wouldn't have had it not been from hanging around with Pan and Christoph. But going to San Francisco for a weekend, right? I was in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, and I just was with a friend, and I said, let's just wander and do nothing, and let's just see where, things will take us. And we ended up at this drag brunch in the Tenderloin, which was like the most amazing thing. I'm pretty straight, I think, but either way, it was incredible. But it's the same idea, is that adventure can be a mindset of exploring and pushing yourself through some discomfort. So I think that adventure involves, and risk-taking involves sort of three things. And I think one of the cornerstones of adventuring is risk and evaluating risk. I think that risk is good. I don't think that danger is good, right? So, and I separate those two things because I've done a lot of this. And I think that risk has potential for creating danger, but I think that risk is all about evaluating what you know about a particular situation, right? So, for example, when we went down the Coloma to Greenwood, you know, whether you were conscientious of the fact that you had, in your own mind, evaluated what the risk was involved with that, and what you were relying on is the fact that I'd done it dozens of times. I assured you that everything was going to be okay. You may get cold, you may get wet, you may get a little frightened, but you're not going to get injured, and I'm going to be right there. But there was this evaluation of risk that had to be done. And I think that any adventure involves evaluating risk, and I think that's a really essential component of it. But I don't think that has to be something that puts us off going on an adventure. I think a second component of adventuring is adversity. Almost any adventure that's worth doing requires some adversity. And the adversity could be, you know, being 1,000-foot up a 2,000-foot face and your shoes are hurting and the weather's not very good and you're hungry. And it ends up being type 2 fun. You know what type 2 fun is?
No.
Type 2 fun is like where it's really good when you look back at it, but it wasn't particularly good at the time.
Oh, I'm going to use that.
That's sort of like when you fell out the boat and you were like, finally got back in. You were like, well, that was kind of cool. Actually, now that we're back on dry land and I'm home and I'm warm again, but at the time?
Right, because what it actually does is it conditions you for should it happen the next time, because now you've already done it.
Right, but it's also a matter of sort of leaning into the realization that everything can't be comfortable all the time, right? That we have to understand that if we're going to grow, if we're going to go on an adventure, we need to incorporate a little bit. You have to understand there's going to be probably some adversity, right? Things aren't always going to be perfect the way you want them. I may be sitting through this experimental music and be thinking, this is really weird. I'm not really into this. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, well, this kind of is cool. And then later on, I'm thinking, that was really interesting. I hadn't really seen anything like that before, that they were looking at this really strange aspect of music and machinery and whatever that case was. But there's some adversity in there. And my point is that the adversity of being 2,000 feet up a 3,000-foot climb, and the adversity perhaps of putting yourself through some music that seems strange or uncomfortable, it's all the same. And we're still channeling those same sort of aspects of it. And the last thing I think with adventure is you have to be willing to consciously go out of what is comfortable for yourself. You just have to say, I'm going to go and do something that I think is different from what I'm typically doing, right? I love to sit around a nice warm fire and read my book. But if all I did was doing that all the time, I'd never really develop any new experiences. And I think my point in all of this is that when ordinary people, including ourselves, all of us, right? Not the people who are climbing K2 or rowing across the Atlantic. When all of us are willing to go and adventure a little bit and put a little bit of risk into our lives, it strengthens us and we grow through that, and it helps us in our day-to-day. Because we're all faced with things like, I'm going to have to give up this job and take this job. I'm going to have to get out this relationship that's dysfunctional. I'm going to have to move towns. I'm going to have to do something that is scary. And I think that when we incorporate risk and some adventure in our life on all of these different ways, in small ways and large ways, it builds courage and bravery in us. And it becomes easier when you get to that point of saying, I'm going to have to quit this job. I know it's comfortable, it's doing well, but I really don't like it. You can be a little braver and say, I'm used to this. I'm okay. I can make this decision. I can evaluate risk. I realize there's going to be some adversity to it, but I'm willing to take this new experience on. And so I think that it's not just going out and climbing and paddling down the river, but we should all be making little adventures for ourselves in our lives, because first of all, you get kick-ass adventures, and that's great. And second, it really helps to train you and make you a little braver. And then you actually get to expand and enjoy your life and not just be stuck in this small space all the time.
Wonderful. Thank you for the insight. It is a very stoic approach. I've been reading the Marcus Aurelius Meditations, which is this amazing little book written in the year 100, 150. And the Stoics, this is basically their platform, is that by doing those things that are uncomfortable for us, we gain resilience and the ability to approach challenging events in life with more courage and alacrity. Yeah. Thank you so much for this today, Aiden.
Yeah.
And will you promise us that next time you come on the program, you'll have an actual outdoor adventure for us?
Yeah,
or
I will.
shall we?
Can I leave with one sentence?
Yeah, you absolutely can.
So my friend Dylan, I'm not sure if he's here tonight, a young guy, young climber. We were at this event last night listening to the president of the American Alpine Club, which was kind of interesting and not interesting in its ways, but he said something that I thought was really great regarding climbing, and I thought it was very quotable. And he says, when we climb, we leave a little bit of ourselves up there, and a little bit of up there comes back down with us. And I think that sort of is perfect, right?
Excellent. Thank you so
All
much,
right,
Aiden
thanks.
McGuire. And so, the last few weeks, the monks of the Godwin Monastery, which is based in Tibetan Buddhism, and it resides in southern India, have been on tour, and they've come through Placerville. They were here at the Federated Church for about 10 days, building a sand mandala, giving Dharma talks and blessings. And it was the 23rd year that the Placerville Friends of Tibet hosted the monks on their fundraising tour. I had the opportunity to visit on multiple occasions, and I had a really great time just getting to know them and learning from them during this time period. They have moved on this week over to Auburn, but our own Myrtle Tree Arts co-founder Amira Godwin was able to interview them with the filming and technical assistance by our associate producer Rena Wakefield, and we now transition to a filmed interview with one of the monks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amira Godwin with Placertopia podcast, and I have the great honor to be here to attend the tour from the Tibetan monks that have been traveling from their location in India all across the United States. So please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the tour.
Dashidele, my name is Geshe Tenzin Lekshe. Geshe, it's title, and Tenzin Lekshe is my name. So if I spell it out, is Tenzin, Tenzin, Lekshe. Lekshe. So my name is Geshe Tenzin Lekshe. Very nice to meet you. And today the question is about the tour, right?
Yes, Geshe Tenzin. I would love to hear the goals of the tour, that you tour the United States in addition to Placerville, when we're so honored to have you here. But what are some of the goals of traveling around the United States and having these special stops that you do?
So the tour, it's really important, the sources of monastery. So we've been touring in United States for more than now 36 years. So how we really choose the places means how the connection that we have. For example, like Placerville, so it's been now 23 years that our monastery monks came to Placerville, and the Placerville Friends of Tibet, who coordinates every events here. And also we have many different places that we go in the States. Some of the tour they were sharing that they have visited more than 37 or 38 states. So that's how, because I personally don't have that experience, but it's been a long time that we've been doing a tour. So we have many friends all over the states, so that they share really good relationship with us. They have a strong organizations, and they are how they coordinate. Some may have differences, but they are really dedicated and really strong, and they are very united, and how they help us is really, really immense. And so that's it.
Well, one of the purposes of our show, Placertopia, is to feature culture.
Yes.
And culture that comes to Placerville or is grown in Placerville. So one of the things I always learn when you come here is how you're a cultural, sustaining culture of Tibet at the monastery in India. It's an important place to keep the connection to Tibetan culture and language and religious studies. Tell us a little bit about what happens at the monastery with all the monks.
So monastery is a very protected area. So the thing, although we are living in a 21st century, but the monastic rules and systems and all those disciplines and how we really coordinates our daily day in life in monastery, it's second centuries. So that's how from the Nalanda traditions and throughout all those that it's been very strong as universities. So many thinkers, scholars, they visit to Nalanda, and how they learn all those philosophies and the cosmologies and the science and many other different ways, so that how they really preserve the like a very precious cultures and all those kind of like education knowledges. So similarly, it also came to Tibet, and how from the 8th centuries to now, that our Geluk schools, which was founded in like 14th centuries. So that culture and that traditions and that systems that been preserved in our monasteries. So it has like a really unique like a day in life of monastery, so that all the monks are there, so they have their own daily routine from the 5 a.m. to until like sometimes like 1 a.m. or 12:30 a.m. So we have our own events and schedules, how we really maintain. We've been really maintaining this from the many years.
We hear about how discipline is such an important part of monastic life, and how challenging it is for the students to be memorizing the text. And what did you find was so challenging in the training for yourself?
So myself, and because monastic is not only the education place of the Buddhist philosophy, science, and Buddhist culture, and all those Buddhist traditions, but also it has a very strong rule, the very kind of like strict rules and disciplines. So that rules and disciplines may be very effective to many, some like boys, the monks. So that's why, like for example, to be in a monastery, you have to have a monk's vows. And like a novice monk, they have 36 vows, and who are ordained monks, fully ordained monk, they have 253 vows. And to able to preserve all those vows with the strict rules and disciplines, with all those traditions of second centuries, so may be difficult for many monks. So that's why during the time, for example, my own experience, when I first enter into monastery, we have 112 classmates, means in my class. When I become graduate and become geshe, we have only 7 left. So that's how it's very tough to survive and be graduate and become a geisha in a monastery because of the outside the temptations, and also all those the materials and the materials world that we've been living here, and also to able to follow the strict rules and disciplines that monastery has, and also to preserve the vows that it's very, very tough and very, very difficult and complete, very kind of like if you are not really dedicated and you are not really strongly kind of like inspired and really from the very depth heart you are really working on that. If not, it is very difficult to survive.
It's amazing that you made it through and were one of the few of your classmates to be ordained. So in addition to discipline and commitment, I think you also have to have a very strong mind to memorize the text and also to debate, to question the text. What are some examples of the way that the debate functions, things that you question inside the text?
So debate, I'll show you how we start really. We start from colors. So how the colors and is different than the individual. For example, people when we say some because of our wrong views, we don't really in our ordinary life we don't really differentiate between colors and the individuals. In a way, when we are saying that if we really think about one person as an example, we think that that person is bad, that person is cruel, a demon or something like that. But that same person for somebody is most beloved one, most kind of like kind one, most like really the most loving one. So how? Because we don't really differentiate between that individual person and the behavior that they have. So that's why the colors is very important, how really you can understand that through the metaphoric way of understanding, so that the things that we can see has a colors. But if you think the colors of that thing is the real nature of that object, it's not true. For example, we have horse, and the horse, we have brown horse, white horse, black horse. But the black color that you are seeing from the horse is actually not the horse. It's only the color of the horse. Similarly, you have to also put this in our daily life, so that anything that the person is doing bad, something that is committed, something really strong negative things, the behavior or the character that they really presenting in that condition, in that same situation and that condition, so it is bad. So that's why you have to really differentiate. And so how we really start doing debate on those things, to able to make our mind to be more aware and sharp, to able to see the ultimate truth, so that you won't be into delusions and the wrong views.
That's a great example. So I have learned a different style of Buddhism, maybe from American style Buddhism, which is maybe some more Zen influenced or Vipassana mindfulness, and your focus on seeing the way appearances are not real, and that the self is an illusion, and that most of our mistakes come from delusion or ignorance. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it seems like a lot of Americans are not acquainted with this idea of no self, that there's no real self.
So now it's about philosophy.
Yeah.
So the philosophy is something we said that so Chötamje Tongshin Dameba means all the phenomena are the nature of selfless, and it is the also emptiness. So what does that really means is, So in our daily life, so that we are in a worldly beings, so the very true nature so that we have, because that we see from our conceptual ways, our own concept, so that, oh, this is that, so I have to do that. This is this one, so that's why I have to do that in different ways. So that's how we concept everything, the worldly things that we see and we experience. But the emptiness, the wisdom, it's saying different. So it's saying that the true nature of every phenomena out there and you yourself is selflessness. So that's why you have to be very aware of that. Why it is so important is, once your mind is completely diluted, so that you cannot see the ultimate nature of that object is different than the what your appearance is really seeing it. Is so you need to differentiate with those things. For example, we always give an example of your individual. For example, my name is Geshe Lekshe. So when somebody say Geshe Lekshe, I will immediately respond, I'm here. And somebody asks something that is my object is fall down, who's that? It's mine. I immediately respond that. But me and my and I, that we've been always holding in our mind, so is it really exists or not? So that you had to caution it. So once you really analyze on the me and my and mine, and me and my and mine, so by doing analytical on that, you don't really see and you cannot really point that that is me and me, my and I. For example, I have the form, that's not me, that's my form. I have sensations, so that's not me, that's my sensations. I have mental factors that I think a lot, so that's my thoughts, not me. I have a compositional factor, how I really exist, so that's my compositional factor, not me. So I have a consciousness, so that consciousness is not something that is solid, it's merely fabrications of many things that is exist. So that's how the true nature of your existence is not something that is solid, it's not something that is tangible, it's not something that is inherent. So it is empty of inherent. Mm-hmm. It is empty of intrinsic. It is empty of the self. It is selflessness. So why it is so important is, when we say Buddha, how he enlightened, how he become awakened one, because of that wisdoms. So we are stuck into our own concept. So this is something that, so how we appear, our appearance also we sees like that, we really feels like that. And there are some bodhisattva, the noble beings who are practitioners, although they see things like it is inherently there, but they feel that this is not inherent, this is empty of inherent, this is not solid at all. The Buddha are the one who is awakened, they see it is not inherent, and they also feel it is not inherent. How the difference between ordinary beings and the one who is highly realized practitioners and one who is completely awakened. So that's how we can make a differences. And also through that we understand that once you have a fully awareness, the wisdom of emptiness, so you can able to break the samsara, that we call cyclic existence of suffering nature, and go beyond it. So that's the true the teachings, the truth, the sacred teaching of Buddha. So how he become enlightened, and how he really want all his followers or who are interested in this kind of education and philosophy to be enlightened from that practice.
Thank you. That was the perfect answer. You went. I was going to ask you about emptiness, and you covered that.
All right. Yeah. the Amira Godwin interview with one of the monks who was the translator for the visiting monks from Godin Shartse Monastery, the Tibetan monks. And this gentleman really was the voice for the entire week. He did all the translation and he took all our questions, and he was really our insight, our way in to the rest of the monks who spoke the native language. So our next guest, H.J. Sandigo, hails from Placerville, California. He is a human, fond of telling stories and exploring the wilderness. Jacob writes about pilgrimage, road trips, and the prayer of the heart in a world of distraction. H.J. Sandigo is immensely grateful for the experiences, wisdom, and humor that people have shared with him throughout his travels. Please welcome to Placertopia Live, Jacob Sandigo.
Thank you for having me. These are really comfy chairs.
Yeah, they're from Ross.
I said it. Are they polar bear?
I wish they were local, but well, they're from our local Ross. Okay.
If it's cool, before I do my poem, I was going to tell, in theme with the monk interview, a little bit of wisdom from this abbot that I met. I was staying in St. Augustine, Florida, and I was taking a nap, and then the venerable Brother Chewy started licking my face. He's a Chihuahua, so it's not a scandal. You don't have to worry about another scandal. And we went into the chapel. We said the night prayers, and then I was the last one in the chapel, kind of lingering, and one of the brothers taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" And I was like, "I'll take a water." And he kind of looks at me bewildered and says, "We got a full bar. I'm going to make you a Manhattan." And that was my first time having a Manhattan. And we started having, they had this cocktail hour where they basically talk about, theology, struggle, or any of the current events of the day. And the abbot sees me taking notes of some stuff, and he gets up and he says, no, we can't have you writing with that. And he brings a fountain pen. And it says, yeah, throw that Bic away, And then we were just talking, and then I asked him before he goes to bed, what are some, what's the biggest hindrance in one's spiritual life in this, current age? And he said, the fear of silence and sitting with ourselves, and also how fearful, but most of all, how fearful we are of being present to one another. And I thought that was beautiful message, and it's great that we're doing stuff like this in town and when we can be here, with each other. So that's it. Sorry, the monks inspired me. I don't know if I like sharing that.
Thank you for sharing that.
All right, this is a poem called "On the Road of Tomorrow," and it's dedicated to my brother Taylor. The American novelist Jack Kerouac was asked in an interview why, despite being a good Catholic boy, he'd never written about Jesus in any of his novels. Jack paused for a moment and then responded, "All I write about is Jesus." The passing tides usher us onward. Taste the breeze of yesteryear, but do not get drunk on nostalgia. There are more chapters to be lived. What an existence to behold if one is attentive to the golden tulips that bloom before your very eyes. God's mementos to those who skip the evening news and grasp at secrets sent by angels in disguise. I'm half past midnight, but still too early to call in sick. There's an ugly sweater in my closet, yet I know another by name. She greets me under the tangerine sunshine and tells me pain is temporary like Achilles. Wisdom, be attentive. A brother's bond thicker than thieves sees me through a New Orleans flood. The jazz band hands us a purple drink and says Thelonious Monk was rather solitary. He only had time for the prayers of his piano. I remember Christmas Eve when Grandma still danced and played her records. The grandkids would turn on the organ and bang out a few rotten solos, but everyone was too in love to notice that the notes were off key. Do you remember that you were born and the Almighty sent you a postcard that said congratulations on your first breath? The coming days will bring tears, but love is bound to see you through anything. I'm rooting for you, and so are the saints, playing backgammon in Bethlehem. Lord, please overlook the fact my brother stole a coffee mug for his scrapbook to commemorate our Odyssey. He's a man for all seasons, destined for a perfect game. We found ourselves in 7-Eleven and found a papier-mâché Gandhi beside a People magazine. We wandered into a movie theater and found no pictures. We wandered beyond the tree line and found the little flower of Jesus. No search is in vain. At least you left the comfort of the couch and dared to begin. Lessons may tattoo the spirit. That's okay. Not everyone can pass go and collect $200. Breathe and let out all that wishes to poison you. When you are finally empty, you will be full. That is a promise no dollar store gypsy can guarantee. Don't just look to the stars, gaze beyond, because they are the ones who envy our light. Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord who has compassion on you. That's all she wrote.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, I'm very moved by your work and your delivery. And, I'm reminded that we are here in Northern California where, the likes of Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg and Gary Snyder, Gary Snyder, I understand, was well acquainted with this region and the Gold Country, and maybe even lives up in Nevada City, I think. And I'm just taken to the streets of North Beach and Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and I know that you have made that part of your journey as being native to Placerville. You seem to run out to the Bay Area a lot to fill up your sponge and get juiced up with that vibe. Is that right?
Well, so I lived there for 7 years, but before that, it's always been the Bookery. That's always been the home base, which they have the greatest. They have all those books there, They did not tell me to plug them at all. Just love.
Well, it's perfect transition. Thanks for coming on the show, H.J. Sandiego. H.J. Sandiego, author at Pilgrim and Scarlet, Digital D-Dash. I don't know how you say that. H.J. Sandiego, Substack. We'll have them in the show notes. Perfect transition to the Bookery Reads. And today we are graced with Bookery co-owner Darren Coelho Spring.
Hello.
Hey, hi.
What's up?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Cool. What had you known Jacob Sandiego was going to be all beated up?
Yeah, I might have done
right?
something
You might have
beat-oriented.
I don't,
Actually, it did cross my mind to do Jack Spicer and Helen Adam, who are like lesser-known beat era San Francisco Renaissance.
Right on.
But I did something else.
All
Slightly
right.
different.
What do you got for us today?
Okay, so there is a new edition of one of my very favorite books. It's a little bit of an obscure book called The Nightland. This cover is by the Canadian comic artist Seth. You may have heard of him. But it's a pretty obscure book. It was written in the early 20th century by William Hope Hodgson, who not many people know about. But there's a new edition, and the introduction to this new edition is by an author, California author named Eric Davis, who, what would you call him? He is the author of this book, Technosis, Myth, Magic, and Mysticism in the Age of Information. Everything he writes is completely fascinating. I can't recommend him enough. It's sad that not many more people know about Eric Davis. He's in this documentary, A Glitch in the Matrix. Some of you may have seen that. Very good documentary. He's the voice of reason in that documentary, one of a couple voices of reason. Anyways, you should check him out. But he did the introduction to this book, The Nightland. And I'll just read you a little bit from what how his introduction begins. I'll just tell you, it's a very epic, horror, fantasy, novel, science fiction novel, all kind of in one. Before really that kind of existed, he combined them all. So this is how it begins, the introduction to the novel. If you are encountering William Hope Hodgson's The Nightland for the first time, you may feel a bit like an angler who drags a bizarre and horrible fish out of the deep, something that rings no bells of recognition. A nightmare romance set in the far-flung future and written in a self-consciously antique dialect. The Nightland might be a mad poet's prophecy from the 18th century or a labored meta-genre workout from the 21st. What sort of chimera is this? Is it as archaic as it seems? Is it even edible? Faced with such a literary monster whose flaws somehow intensify its uncanny luster, we inevitably grope, we pinholers, for classifications, for the reassuring schemas of genre, epoch, and style. So this book was one of the first of its kind in many ways. The idea of let me get this term right. Arcology is really interesting. And arcology is a modern term that merges architecture with ecology in masses of people. And the people in this novel, who are the last of earthlings, millions of years in the future when the sun has died, live in this giant pyramid. And he envisioned an arcology before there was a name for it, which is interesting. Soon after Kepler, is it Kepler?
Johannes Kepler.
No, I'm sorry, not Kepler. The scientist who measure energy. Lord Kessler? No, Lord.
There's Kelvin.
Kelvin. There you go. So Kelvin is the first one to talk about the death of the sun. This is like
I'll take inventors
around the turn of the
for
century.
200.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. So basically, he wrote this after. What did you say? What was it?
Kelvin.
After Kelvin,
which is a measure. Yeah.
measured that the sun was going to die. This was kind of a response to that. So it's the first of the dying Earth stories as well, and it's kind of a descent narrative, similar to like Paradise Lost, where you descend to the depths of hell, kind of. And if any of you have ever read Lord of the Rings, like the journey to Mordor that Frodo takes is very similar to this. Has to be inspired by this. But yeah, one of my favorite books.
This is a perfect bookery read. I do get to work at the bookery once a week, and just before Christmas, a Placerville mother came in, and she had a reading list for her son, and she said, "I need The Inferno by Dante, and I need the Brothers Karamazov, please, Dostoevsky, and I need this one, the Gulag Arch," and I'm like, Solzhenitsyn, the Gulag Archipelago. I said, yeah, your son is for her 15-year-old son who had a really perky reading list going. And I think this would be perfect, right, for that.
Love
so
our
if you're listening
customers.
out there.
Okay, well, I'll say one other thing. When Aiden was talking.
Yeah, let's not leave it alone.
Yeah, when Aiden was talking, I was thinking about what a amazing thing it is to read such a dark, crazy adventure of a book in the comfort of your own living room.
This is your hibernating.
book.
Book.
You don't have to take any risk to go do something like that. But truly, books are risks.
Oh, like Aiden's.
Yeah, because books change you. They should change you if you read enough of them, if you read the right ones. So it isn't safe to read a book. It's actually very dangerous.
Very dangerous. This is good. Don't run away. Okay, so just, a couple of things. Amazing. Great suggestion. Thanks. And thanks for bringing up Eric Davis. I would be very un-Michael Krasny if I didn't mention that Eric is a personal friend of Amira and mine, that we went to many Burning Mans with Eric and his wife, Jennifer Dumbert, who's a psychologist and an author as well. She studies liminal dreaming. and has a book on that. That might even be the title. And we would love to, if you're listening out there, Eric and Jen, we would love to attract you to Placerville and do a reading at the bookery. Darren has all your books. Eric also...
We do sell his books at the bookery.
Yes, you do. And Eric's, I think most recent book was a discovery of Philip K. Dick, Terence McKenna, and Robert Anton Wilson in one book. Title?
High Weirdness.
High Weirdness, available at the bookery. And Eric did have the pleasure of being very close to Terence McKenna and spent the last days of Terence's life, he was with Terence. And so anyway, great shout out there. But before you go, Hodgson. Yeah, just give us a little, just give us a tiny little bit more on William Hope Hodgson and why he's important.
Okay, yeah. William Hope Hodgson was a really interesting author. He was British. He died during World War I in Belgium, I believe. It's how to even go into this. He was really interesting. He was a sailor as a teenager for the Merchant Marines. Sailed around the world multiple times. He became a one of the, I think, first physical fitness instructors. This was in England. He challenged Houdini publicly.
Whoa.
And some say got the best of him, others say didn't. Basically, Houdini would go around and, say that he could break out of any chains in 5 minutes or whatever. So William Hope Hodgson showed up to his live performance and challenged him, tied him with his own chains that he couldn't get out of, and then they had this showdown. Anyways.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, okay. He's a very interesting guy. There should be a documentary about him.
You've hooked us. So, the Bookery, Placerville, all this stuff will be, of course, in the show notes. Darren Coelho Spring, thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Paul.
We've got Hop On, Pop On, Hop Up, Pop Up, Placertopia Live, and then we're going to get a second set from Cloud Spotter. Please welcome Ruth Michelson.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, we got that mic on? I can't hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
What do you got for us today, Ruth?
Well,
Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Ruth Michelson. I am co-owner with my husband of Placerville Art Gallery. We've been owners for 8.5 years.
And you do, other mic, and you do more than that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot. I'm an activist. But what I'm here to talk to you about is Third Saturday Art Walk, which is every month, the third Saturday from 4 to 8. And we've really grown it. Elena Tucker, who owns the gallery next to mine, Art Studio 360, she and I are partners, and for the last 2.5 years, we've really tried to enliven Third Saturday Art Walk, and we have about 20 retailers who are open in addition to all of the galleries in town. There are 6 or 7 galleries. And so we have food specials, music specials, drink specials. The retailers have special sales going on, and we just want to encourage everyone to come out for that.
Wonderful. Thank you for doing that. It always brings a lot of business into town and brings people out late in the transitional hours, which fills up the green room for the evening.
Right.
It's been a big boon to our community. Thank you for doing that. And I wouldn't get to come back if I didn't just plug your gallery, that at Placerville Art Gallery you represent a whole lot of really interesting artists, sculptors, makers, and it's jewelers. It's a really great place for finding cool stuff.
Thank you. We have 30 artists at our gallery, but there's so many good galleries in this town. And I want to just say something in the last 20 seconds that I have.
No, tell us about your upcoming event. I know it's not for a few months, but it's important.
Speaking of, we talked about culture and bringing culture to this town. And June 8th is Golden History Days, and this will be our third year of a reimagined, re-envisioned event for when the wagon train comes through town. Because back in 1948, it just wasn't the white immigrants that came in the wagon train. We had a lot of culture diversity here at the time. We had Native Americans, of course, and Chinese and Japanese, Hispanic Californios, Black Americans. And so what we've done...
Jews.
Thank you.
Plenty of Jews.
All right. Jews as well. Thank you.
Where
Yes.
there's business.
Yes, merchants. And because Paul and I, we are MOT.
I can make that joke. Okay.
Member of the tribe, so we can say that.
That's right.
But
1849. I think you meant.
that's probably what I meant.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction. But so you're getting me off track here, but so we try to celebrate all the cultural diversity. The street is closed, the far end of the street, the east end is the antique fair that we've brought back. The center stage is music. This end of the street, the west end, is history. And we just encourage people to come out for that June 8th. And we also would encourage more participants to come and bring their culture and have a booth on the street.
Thank you. Ruth Michelson, Placerville Art Gallery. Okay, and we don't have our other hop up. We're going to do that at the end. And please welcome back to Placertopia Live the unique and extraordinary sounds of Cloud Spotter.
Last night I went outside and listened closely. I made a bed out of leaves and I read their veins like pages, camouflaged by the barley wine and the nightshade. Illuminated lunar marble roll around us at night. Jimson weed is rolled up under my tongue. Suddenly the canopy opens up, heavy sigh, baby cry. I wade through water all the time as it passes me by. Back inside, 10 years later, the ghost is gone. I pick up plates, I feel protein through my pale palms. Camouflaged by the barley wine and the nightshade. Illuminated lunar marble roll around us at night. Jimson weed is rolled up under my tongue. Suddenly the canopy opens up, heavy sigh, baby cry. I wade through water all the time as it passes me by. y'all. Straight talk, wonder if we know. I'm barely breaking the mold. One chance, walk up to the door. My friends are on the mend. I'm writing notes in the sand. Brain bothered, trying to believe. I'm standing tall like a tree. About face and see the mess I made. Don't press me for details. How do shells end up in the mountains? Time softens everything we lose. Hold our breath for a while. Rain comes and washes all the roads. The smell, it wakes you long ago. Soft focus, staring at the flame. Don't get lost in the crowd. Pay dues and kneel on the ground. Well, when I must come down. Fever dream heads rolling down the hill. Mortal Kombat scream. Flying fast stuff sticking to my hands. 10 minutes up and away. Pull the cord and land safely. Kind people knocking at your door. A pool of miracles now. The fall happens. Gather up the pieces. It's not too late to recreate. We'll find our way back to the shelter. Straight talk. Wonder if they know. I'm barely breaking the mold. One chance, walk up to the door. My friends are on the mend. I'm writing notes in the sand. Thank you. I go by Cloud Spotter. Thanks again.
Don't go by Cloud Spotter. Never go by. Aw, that was the best. That's my favorite genre. I don't know what genre it is, but it's my favorite. Thanks, Cloud Spotter. So, are you gonna pop up, or we're out of time, Rena? Rena wants it. You want me to just plug it? Come on. Just plug it real quick. We got one more hop up. This is our associate producer, Rena Wakefield.
Hi, everyone. So on behalf of Arts and Culture, I am plugging for their Big Read event. So the launch is happening this Saturday, the 27th, from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Placerville Library branch. They also are going to be incorporating this beautiful story recording booth project by Unassuming Collective, so that's really exciting. The dates for that are going to be Saturday, February 3rd, Wednesday, February 7th, Saturday, February 10th, and Saturday, February 24th at various El Dorado County Library branches. So definitely check out the Arts and Culture website to get more information and participate. It's a beautiful project, and they're going to be focusing on grief and loss and community and how we process those emotions. So please check it out and participate.
Thank you, Rena. The Big Read. And that is our show for the first episode of season 2. And I want to give our thank yous out to our guests, of course, Jamie Van Camp, Jacob Sandigo, Amira Godwin with the Monks of God in Chartse, and we had Darren Coelho Spring, and we had Ada McGuire, and we had some Ruth Michelson pop-ups, and especially our musical guest, Cloud Spotter.
A special thank you to the Green Room and to all of you, our audience, and to Doug, our sound technician.
Doug
You're
Neal,
our hero.
our
Thank
sound
you.
and video technician, the Green Room Social Club, and we are also here in part by a grant from the Placerville Cannabis Fund. So thanks to them. No cannabis was harmed in the making of this show. And we are now available on the YouTube channel from Club Green Room and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and anywhere you find your podcasts. So we will see you next month on February 22nd at 4:30 p.m. when our musical guest will be Nathan North. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
For Placertopia Live, I'm Paul Godwin.